He stood at the edge of the road like a ghost, dripping wet, ribs showing, one paw lifted off the ground, trembling. Cars passed, but none stopped. Not anymore. His eyes didn't search for food, just faces, just one face. And east. Always east. As if home might be waiting. As if someone might still be waiting for him too. The road was slick with rain, the asphalt glowing faintly under the pale wash of early morning light. A shape moved slowly along the shoulder. Barely a shadow, barely a dog. His coat, once golden, was now caked in mud and brambles, his ribs sharp beneath stretched skin. He limped, favoring one paw, his head low, his breath shallow. And still, he kept walking. A faded green collar hung from his neck, the tag long gone. His name was Cody, though no one out here would know that. Not anymore. Every step looked like it might be his last. But east, always east. As if something in him remembered. As if home wasn't a place, but a scent, a warmth, a voice he hadn't heard in months, but could still feel deep in his bones. Behind him, mountains loomed, blanketed, in snow. Ahead, trees parted to reveal long stretches of highway, wet and empty. The wind pressed against him like a weight. He didn't shiver anymore. He didn't have the energy to. Once, he had run through fields and leapt into lakes. He had a human who threw sticks and called his name with laughter in his voice. That was before the thunderstorm, before the gate was left open, before the scent of smoke and panic and wet pavement pulled him in the wrong direction. Cody had been lost for 143 days. Miles away, in a quiet Oregon town, Ethan stared out the window of his garage. The rain tapped against the glass, soft and steady. His hands were black with grease, but he hadn't touched the wrench in 10 minutes. The truck on the lift could wait. There was a bowl of kibble on his front porch, just like there had been yesterday, just like there had been every day since the night Cody didn't come home. Ethan hadn't meant to leave the gate unlatched. He was distracted that night, staring at a photo on the wall, her face smiling, her hair catching the sunlight. The weight in his chest so heavy he'd forgotten everything else. And then the storm came, and by the time he remembered, the backyard was empty. He'd searched for weeks, posted flyers, drove every road, called every shelter. But the trails went cold. The woods were thick, the highways endless. And something inside Ethan had gone quiet, like a radio turned down too low to hear. He still left the bowl out. Not because he believed Cody would return, but because he didn't know how to stop hoping. Cody's paw bled where the pad had cracked open. Every time he stepped on it, pain shot up his leg. But he didn't stop. Not when a truck roared past, splashing him with water. Not when his legs trembled beneath him. Not when his stomach growled so loud it startled a nearby crow. A day earlier, a kind voice had said, "Hey, buddy," and offered him a strip of jerky from a truck stop parking lot. A soft hand had scratched behind his ears. But then, the man got in his rig and drove away. Cody had tried to follow for a moment, but his body wouldn't let him, so he lay under a tree until the rain started again. And then he kept walking. He had passed towns. He had crossed rivers. At night, he curled beneath bushes or old sheds. When he dreamed, he smelled her perfume, heard the hum of Ethan's guitar, felt the rough warmth of a hand on his back. The world was full of sounds and smells that didn't belong to him, but he could still remember the ones that did. In Ethan's house, the fireplace was cold, dust-coated shelves he no longer touched. The only light came from the dim overhead in the kitchen, flickering slightly. He sat at the table, untouched coffee beside him, staring at the collar in his hand. Cody's old collar, the one Ethan had taken off just before the storm. The buckle had rusted a little. He hadn't been able to throw it away. He turned it over in his palm. It still smelled faintly like the dog shampoo they used to use. He could still see the way Cody would roll around on the carpet right after a bath, trying to rub the scent off. There were pictures on his phone he couldn't bring himself to look at. Videos of Cody chasing snowflakes, barking at the vacuum, curling up next to her. Ethan didn't talk much these days. Friends had tried to reach out, but he always found a reason to stay away. The garage kept him busy enough, or at least kept him from feeling everything all at once. But at night, when the town was still, he stood by the door and listened. And sometimes, when the wind shifted just right, he swore he could hear a bark far off in the dark. It was nearly dawn when Cody collapsed behind a grocery store dumpster. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. His legs refused to hold him. His breathing came in shallow wheezes, and yet, even as he lay there, his eyes were fixed east. He didn't know how much farther. He didn't know what day it was. But something inside him, something older than pain, older than hunger, told him he was close. The sound of tires squealing startled him. A man cursed. Footsteps approached. Cody tried to lift his head, but everything spun. "Hey! Hey! Easy there," the voice said. The man was young, wearing a hoodie and delivering newspapers. He crouched down, eyes wide at the sight of the battered dog. Cody didn't move. The man left for a moment, then came back with half a sandwich and a bottle of water. He poured the water into a coffee lid and pushed it forward. Cody licked it. Just once. Then again. "You're not from around here, huh?" the man muttered. He looked at the collar. Poor guy. He pulled out his phone. "Let's find someone who's looking for you." Cody didn't understand the words, but he felt the warmth of the hand on his head. And for a moment, it was enough to rest. The young man posted a photo to a local lost and found pets group. Cody's head rested on his sneaker as the rain thinned to a mist. "Found this guy behind Danner's Market. Looks hurt. Anyone know where he belongs?" Ethan didn't see it. He wasn't on social media anymore. He had turned it all off after she died. Too many memories. Too many faces smiling back when his own life had stopped. Cody lay in the back of the man's old Subaru, wrapped in a blanket that smelled like gasoline and French fries. The engine hummed, the window fogged. The man hummed a tune under his breath, the kind people sing when they're trying to comfort something, or themselves. A half hour later, they pulled up to a small veterinary clinic just off the highway. It was early. The sign said, "Closed." But the lights inside were on. The man knocked. A sleepy tech with a ponytail opened the door, looked down, and gasped. "Where did you find him?" "Behind the store. He's not mine. He just looked like he needed help." She crouched, gently lifting Cody's paw. He winced, but didn't pull away. She saw the gash, the splinters, the cracked pads. Then she noticed the collar. Barely. Hanging on. "Let's get him inside." Inside, the vet's office smelled of antiseptic and warm towels. Cody lay on a table while they cleaned his wounds. He barely moved. His eyes drifted, closing now and then, but he never fully let go. Like even in rest, something in him was still watching, still waiting. They gave him fluids, stitched a deep cut on his leg, wrapped his paw. He needed rest, food, safety, things he hadn't had in months. They scanned for a microchip. Nothing. The collar was too worn to read. "We'll post his picture." "Maybe someone's looking for him," the text said. The man, Will, nodded. "He's got that look, you know, like he's been trying to find something for a long time." She looked again at the dog's face, at the way his eyes stared past the room, through the wall, into some memory only he could see. "I think he already knows where he's going," she whispered. That night, Cody slept inside a cage lined with blankets. The clinic was quiet, the storm outside finally easing into silence. The heat from the vents made him twitch in his sleep. Maybe unused to warmth, maybe remembering something. He dreamed of the old house, the porch with the wind chimes, her voice calling him in, Ethan's hands brushing the dirt off his back after a long day in the yard, the sound of the guitar at dusk. He dreamed of the storm, too, the one that took her away. The screech of tires, the door left open, the wind, the rain, the way Ethan looked at him afterward, hollow-eyed, hands shaking. Cody had waited by the back gate for 3 nights after he first got lost, but Ethan never came. So he started walking. In the morning, Will came back. He had coffee in one hand, a leash in the other. "You ready, buddy?" he said softly. "Let's see where you're trying to go." Cody stood slowly. His body protested, but his heart did not. He followed Will out the door, limping but determined. They didn't get far. Just past the town border, Cody pulled hard to the right. Will, surprised, followed. At the next intersection, Cody hesitated, sniffed, then turned down a narrow country road lined with tall pines. "You know where you're going, don't you?" Will whispered. It wasn't magic. It wasn't a miracle. It was memory, scent, instinct, some deep invisible tether that pulled Cody forward. They walked for hours. Will stopped twice to rest, but Cody refused. Even limping, even weak, he pressed. Forward like the wind was calling him by name. Ethan was in the garage again, under the hood of a car that didn't need fixing. His thoughts were far away. The food on the porch was still untouched. The rain had washed away yesterday's hope. He told himself it didn't matter, that it had been too long, that Cody was gone, that the part of him who believed in second chances was gone too, but when he heard the soft thud of paws on gravel, he froze. He turned slowly, blinked once. There, at the edge of the driveway, stood a dog that looked like a ghost, mud-caked, shivering, scarred, his eyes hollow with exhaustion, and still. "Cody?" Ethan breathed. The dog limped forward, 1 step, 2, and collapsed. Ethan dropped, to his knees, heart in his throat. The breath punched out of his lungs. He reached for the dog, unsure, unbelieving. His hand touched matted fur, the ribs beneath, the warmth, and Cody, through all the pain, lifted his head, just enough to press it into Ethan's palm. Ethan broke. Tears ran freely as he cradled Cody's face, his voice barely a whisper. "I thought I lost you." He looked up, saw Will standing quietly at the road, watching, not wanting to intrude. Ethan nodded once, a wordless thank you. Will smiled, turned, and left. Later, inside the house, Cody lay on a blanket by the fire. Ethan sat beside him, gently cleaning the dried blood from his fur. He didn't speak. Didn't need to. Cody's eyes were half closed, but his tail thumped once. Then again, Ethan rested his hand on Cody's chest, feeling the slow, steady rhythm. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I should have come sooner." Cody didn't answer, but he didn't need to. He was home. The days that followed were quiet, slow, and filled with small things that felt bigger than they looked. Cody didn't move much at first. His legs were still sore. The pads on his paws needed time. But every time Ethan walked into the room, Cody's eyes followed him. He didn't wag his tail often. Not yet. But he watched. Always watched. Ethan made a bed for him near the fireplace, laid out with old flannel shirts and the faded quilt she used to keep in the truck. Cody curled into it like he remembered, like he knew what it meant. Sometimes Ethan would catch him staring at the front door, like he was still expecting someone else. Some nights, Ethan talked to him. Quiet, raw words that never made it out, of his chest until now. About how much he missed her. About how he'd left the back gate open the night Cody ran. About how he'd stopped going into the bedroom because it still smelled like her. Cody just listened. His breathing was steady, his eyes soft. And sometimes, when Ethan's voice cracked, Cody would inch forward, lay his head on Ethan's knee, and stay there. 3 weeks passed. The wound on Cody's leg closed. The weight returned to his frame little by little. One afternoon, Ethan brought home a ball from the feed store. Not to throw, just to see. He set it on the porch steps and waited. Cody limped over, stared at it, nudged it with his nose. Then, after a long moment, gently pawed it down one step. Ethan watched the ball roll into the yard, watched Cody's ears perk, watched him take one unsteady step after it, then another, and suddenly, for the first time in months, Ethan smiled. The weather turned cold again. Frost crept in at night. Ethan started making soup on the stove the way she used to. Chicken, carrots, not too much salt. He'd always hated cooking, but now it made the house feel less empty, less like a museum, more like a home. Cody followed him from room to room, like a shadow, but never went upstairs. That room had always been hers. Even now, something in him seemed to know it was off-limits. One night, though, Ethan left the door open. Cody paused at the threshold, looked back once, then climbed the stairs slowly, paw by paw. Ethan didn't follow, just waited. Eventually, he heard the soft sound of a body settling onto the rug. A sigh. Silence. Cody stayed there for hours, not sleeping, just being. When he came back down, his eyes were different. Still tired, but not lost. One morning, Ethan drove into town. Not for work. He'd taken time off. Just to get out. Stretch the cabin air from his lungs. He parked near the old diner, sat in his truck for a while. People walked by. No one said much. Everyone in town knew about the accident, about how Ethan stopped talking, about how the dog disappeared soon after. But when he stepped inside and took a seat by the window, the waitress smiled gently, poured him coffee, asked nothing. He looked out the window and thought about the day they first brought Cody home. Muddy paws, oversized ears, the way she'd insisted on naming him Cody because he just looked like one. He laughed under his breath. Maybe that's how healing starts, with a memory that doesn't hurt quite as much as it used to. Back at the house, Cody stood at the window, watching the truck come down the drive. His tail moved, not fast, not eager, just enough to show he knew. Enough to say, "You came back." Ethan opened the door, and Cody was there, pressing into his legs before he even got his boots off. "I wasn't gone long," Ethan chuckled, rubbing behind his ears. But Cody didn't pull away. Ethan knelt, forehead resting gently against Cody's. "I'm not going anywhere, okay?" Outside, the wind moved through the trees, scattering dead leaves across the porch. The world felt quieter now, but not empty. A month passed. Cody was walking better. They made it to the mailbox and back most days. Sometimes Ethan would bring a chair out to the porch, sit with a mug in his hands, and Cody would lay beside him, head resting on his boot. Winter was on its way. The mornings were cold, the skies gray. But something about the silence had changed. Before, it felt like grief. Now, it felt like peace. One evening, Ethan pulled out the old guitar from the back of the closet. He hadn't touched it in over a year. The strings were dusty, the case stiff with neglect. He tuned it slowly, fingers remembering. Then played, softly, just one of her old songs. Cody stirred from his place near the hearth, lifted his head. Ethan kept playing. By the second verse, Cody had crossed the room and sat beside him, like he remembered too. Later that night, after the fire died down and the guitar was quiet again, Ethan stood at the window and looked out at the yard. The stars were out, rare for Oregon in winter, and the air was clear. He remembered the night she brought Cody home, how small he was, how she laughed when he knocked over the lamp, how they promised he'd always be safe with them. And somehow, even after everything, he was. Cody's breathing had grown steadier. At night, he no longer whimpered in his sleep. No more twitching paws, no more sudden flinches when thunder rolled in from far away. It was like, piece by piece, the weight he'd carried across mountains and highways was finally being set down. Ethan could see it in the way Cody laid out in the sun near the shed, the way he watched birds now, not out of fear, but curiosity, the way his ears perked when Ethan spoke gently, as if understanding was no longer a struggle. It was trust, but scars still lingered. Not all were visible. Sometimes Cody would walk to the road that bordered the property and sit. Just sit, looking east, nose twitching at the wind. He never tried to leave. But something in him still listened for the world beyond, the world he'd crawled through, limped through, barely survived. Ethan would let him sit. He understood. He stood at that same edge himself, most days, not looking to leave, but not quite knowing how to stay. One afternoon, an envelope came. No return address. Inside, a photo. Ethan froze. It was Cody. Thin, filthy, standing beside a gas station dumpster. The corner of a blanket just visible in the frame. On the back, he wouldn't stay. Kept heading east. Thought you'd want to know. Keamethan stared at it for a long time. A weight behind his ribs that wouldn't settle. He looked at Cody, who had wandered over, tail swaying faintly. "You really walked all that way," Ethan whispered. He kneeled, held the photo beside Cody's face. So different, yet unmistakably him. Why? But he already knew. Later that evening, Ethan spread out an old map on the kitchen table, traced a line with his finger. He marked the mountain pass where snow would have fallen by October. The rivers, the highways, the miles. Over 300 miles? He sat down hard in the chair. What kind of heart does that? What kind of love keeps going when everything says stop? He looked out the window. Cody lay curled beneath the porch light, paws tucked under, tail around his legs like a question mark. Waiting, not for a walk or food or anything simple, just being near. The next day, Ethan took Cody for a longer walk. Down the dirt road, past the old fence line where blackberry bushes grew wild. He brought the leash, but didn't use it. Cody stayed close. They didn't talk, just walked. At one point, they passed the tree with the initials carved into the bark. E+M. Inside a rough heart, weathered now, softened by time. Ethan paused, looked at it, let his fingers rest on the scar. Cody stopped beside him, ears alert. "She brought you here once," Ethan murmured. "You were just a pup. Tried to eat the bark." A quiet laugh escaped him. Cody nuzzled his hand. "Just once." When they got back to the house, Ethan opened the closet and pulled out the box he hadn't touched in a year. Dusty? Heavy. Full of the things he couldn't throw away. Photos, cards, that blue hoodie she always wore. And, at the very bottom, Cody's first collar. He held it up. Faded. The name tag still scratched, but legible. Cody watched him from across the room, eyes calm. Ethan walked over and knelt down. Gently, he slipped the collar around Cody's neck. "Welcome home," he said, his voice catching, and for the first time in a long while, Cody wagged his tail. That night, the storm returned. Rain came down in sheets. The wind howled through the pine trees. The power blinked once, then steadied. Ethan lit candles, just in case. The fireplace crackled. Cody was restless, pacing, whining, softly. His body remembered. This kind of storm had taken him once before. Ethan moved the coffee table, spread out the blanket on the floor. He lay down first. Cody hesitated, then joined him. They stayed like that, man and dog, while the storm rattled the roof. Ethan's hand resting over Cody's side. Cody's breathing uneven, then calmer. "I've got you now," Ethan whispered. And somewhere, beneath the thunder, Cody closed his eyes. The next morning, the world was quiet. Damp earth. Birds shaking off the rain. The sky was a soft, uncertain blue. Ethan opened the door. Cody stepped out, ears lifted, tail low, but moving. He sniffed the air, then trotted to the edge of the porch, and barked. Just once. Strong. Clear. It wasn't fear anymore. It was presence. It was "I'm still here." Spring came slow that year. Patches of snow clung to the hill shadows well into March, but buds were forming. The wind didn't sting anymore. It carried something lighter, like the world was starting over, just a little. Cody had put weight back on. His coat was thick again, though some scars never disappeared. A slight limp still showed on cold mornings, but he moved with quiet strength. Purposeful, but at peace. He didn't sit by the road anymore. Instead, he'd lie near the porch steps, eyes half closed, head resting on the wood warmed by the sun. Like he finally knew. There was nowhere else he needed to be. Ethan started fixing up the place. Small things, the sagging fence, the porch railing. He planted herbs in the cracked clay pots she had once loved, watching Cody sniff each one like a judge. He wasn't whole. Not really. Grief doesn't vanish. It lives inside you, softer with time, but always there. But something had shifted. Cody had brought back something Ethan didn't know he'd lost. Not just memory, but movement. That sense that maybe the road didn't end here. That maybe, just maybe, love could outlast the wreckage. One morning, Ethan stood by the gate, sipping black coffee. Cody nosed the corner of his boot, tail brushing lightly back and forth. Ethan looked down, rubbed the soft space between his ears. "You brought me home too, didn't you?" he said softly. Cody just sat beside him, watching the wind ripple through the tall grass. That afternoon, Ethan opened a drawer he hadn't touched in nearly a year, the one with her old journal. He turned the pages carefully. Pressed flower petals fell out, brittle but whole. He stopped at one page, dated exactly a month before the accident. Cody is our heartbeat now. Ethan doesn't say it, but I see it. That dog made this house feel alive. Even when we don't know what to say to each other, Cody finds the space between and fills it with love. Ethan set the journal down and just breathed. Then he walked outside. That evening, they drove into town together. Cody in the passenger seat, head out the window, ears flapping like flags. People stared. Some waved. A few blinked in disbelief. Word had spread slowly. The lost dog, the one who walked for months through the wild just to get home. People remembered Ethan's truck posters, the porch light always left on. Most thought it was a story that ended in silence. Now they watched the story return, not like a miracle, but like something deeper. A kind of quiet proof that love, real love, doesn't give up, even when the world says it should. They stopped at the general store. The clerk, an older woman with silver hair and kind eyes, stepped around the counter. She knelt down beside Cody, rubbing his chest. "Well, look at you," she whispered. "You made it back." Cody leaned into her hand. Ethan smiled softly, watching. He bought a new leash, a deep blue one, and a name tag. Back home, he clipped the tag onto Cody's collar and let the metal tap against the old one, the faded one he'd come back wearing. The new tag read, "Cody, finally home." That night, the stars came out, clear, bright, endless. Ethan sat on the porch steps, guitar in hand, fingers slow and unsure at first. It had been so long. The strings were dusty, the tuning imperfect. But the melody that came was one she used to hum while making dinner. Barefoot and laughing, Cody curled at her feet. Cody laid his head on Ethan's knee and closed his eyes. They sat like that for a long time. Man, dog, and the song of something not quite broken anymore. The last thing Ethan did before bed was turn off the porch light. For the first time in over a year, he looked at Cody, curled up on the rug near the fireplace, breathing slow and easy. "You don't have to find your way back anymore," he said. "You're already home." In the morning, the world was still. A quiet that didn't ache. Ethan stood at the window, watching Cody nudge open the screen door with his nose and step into the yard. He stretched, turned his face to the breeze, and let out a long, satisfied sigh. It was the sound of a journey ending, of belonging. There was no celebration, no dramatic moment, no big story to tell strangers. Just this: a man planting new seeds in his garden, a dog sleeping without flinching, a house once too quiet, filled again with small living sounds, footsteps, bowls clinking, wind moving through half-open windows, and every once in a while Ethan would catch Cody watching him, not searching, not bracing, just watching, like he knew they'd made it, together. Some stories don't end with words, just a porch, a heartbeat, and the one who never stopped finding his way back. Dogs truly are the most loyal companions in our lives. What did you think of this heartwarming story? Let us know in the comments. Like the video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel for daily emotional dog stories. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Click here to watch the next story of love, loyalty, and the incredible bond we share with our paw-some friends.